Mohammed cartoon contest is rekindling the debate over freedom of speech and Islam. John Ritzheimer is a former Marine, and he's organizing the contest at an anti-Islam rally that he plans to hold in Phoenix. It'll be similar to the event that we saw in Garland, Texas, that sparked a shooting. But today's event is being held outside the mosque that was attended by those Texas gunmen, Elton Simpson and Nadir Sufi.
I appreciate the mosque did come out and they condemned the two gunmen. They've come out and they've condemned ISIS. I let them know that we're coming on that day, and that I hope that everything can remain peaceful.
But Ritzheimer is urging people to come armed to this event, just in case. David Goodfriend is former staff secretary to President Bill Clinton, and Kevin McCullough is a nationally syndicated radio host, CEO of Extreme Media, and the author of No He Can't, How Barack Obama is Dismantling Hope and Change is the title of his book. Good to have both of you here today. So here we go again with this. Kevin, what do you think about it?
I think the rally has to go forward. I think Pamela Geller changed the tenor of the debate a month ago. And I think when you see the violent reaction that's even being threatened against the organizer of the Phoenix rally, I think it's become more and more clear that Sharia law is not just an issue of religion or personal preference. This is an ideology that runs counter to the very heart and core values of what it means to be American. And so it's important for both sides of the debate to be heard, but it's especially important that we don't go silent on something as important as this.
Do you think that people don't think that Sharia law runs counter to American ideology and belief?
Personally?
Yeah.
No, I think that many do, but I think the argument that Chris Cuomo made and some other people in the last 24 hours is we can't say things that hurt people's feelings. There's a little bit of a creep going on here with the Sharia agenda, and it is the silencing of people that want to speak out that is actually advancing it.
David, what do you think about this?
Well, I think that there are really two separate issues here that we should tease out in this debate. The first is really a legal one, the First Amendment, which gives us all the freedom of speech, even unpopular speech, and there are some limitations on that. You know, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater and threaten people's safety, but by and large I think we're all in agreement that there cannot be a law here that would prohibit this Phoenix event, for example, for going forward. That would be unconstitutional.
I don't think there's any dispute on that. I mean, everybody,
no dispute on
doesn't
that.
everybody
That's right.
agree? And you know, Kevin, I think everybody agrees. But at this table, certainly that illegally, everyone knows that this man has the right to do what he's doing. There's no dispute about that. The dispute is about whether or not it's the right thing to do.
I think that's right. And so we have a cultural divide. That's a bigger issue, the cultural thing. You know, Chris Cuomo used this analogy of the N-word, and I just disagree with that. I don't think that's the right analogy.
All right, you know what, for folks who didn't see it, David, I'm sorry to jump in on you, but let's play it, because then people will understand what you're talking about, and then we'll go back to it. Go ahead.
They're crazy extremists. They bought into an ideology that is sick and negative and wrong. That's fact. But what you did was calculated in a way that would be provocative. This isn't about not showing it because we're afraid. It's about whether it is right or not. The N-word gets treated the same way that depictions of Muhammad does.
Nonsense.
We don't say it. Let's stick with the N-word analogy.
No,
we don't use it because you don't like it.
It's not analogous.
It's inconvenient.
She says it's not analogous. David, what do you think?
I tend to agree with her that it's not analogous, but I do have what I think is a better analogy. You know, I grew up in Wisconsin in the 1970s in a Jewish family, and I remember when the Illinois Nazis wanted to march through the Jewish neighborhoods of Skokie, Illinois. This was a very, very well-known event. Now, the act was offensive, but the courts allowed the march to go forward. What was interesting was what happened afterwards. America sort of looked at that and said, well, that's not right to pick on a religious minority and to do something offensive. We just don't like it. It became sort of a cultural way of saying, we just don't think that's very American. But the law was pretty clear.
Which is the way these problems should be solved, Martha, because what we're talking about is if we want to have a culture that's built on certain core values, freedom of speech, individual responsibility, etc., the best way we can sheriff bad behavior is to do it independently, to do it one-to-one. Chris Cuomo tried to shame Pamela Geller into admitting that what she's doing is in some way immoral. There's tens of millions of people that think what she's doing is vitally important. And so when you have, they perceive the Sharia creep that's taking place in America as being something that challenges America in the character of what it is as a nation.
This is an important thing to do.
One last thought, David, and we gotta go.
I don't think you're doing your side any favors by talking about a Sharia creep. That's just ridiculous. What I do think is going on is a healthy debate over the limits of First Amendment and free speech, and that's where we ought to keep it. That's the American way.
All right, we've got to leave it there, guys, but we will continue. Thank you very much, David, good friend, and Kevin McCullough. Good to have you both here.
Thanks, Martha.